When it comes to energy and nightlife, there are cities that are truly in a league of their own. New Orleans, or the Big Easy as some people call it, is one of these elite cities, known for an almost over-the-top selection of entertainment options, including the world-famous French Quarter. This very dynamic city never seems to sleep, whether it's the daytime or nighttime, with what almost looks like to be an unlimited supply of live music, with the big focus on jazz that supposedly originated in this area. With all the music indoors and outdoors, this is definitely one of the top cities for music in the US. What makes this city even more interesting amongst the super energetic cities is its history, especially as it relates to pirates and, believe it or not, even voodoo, making this place one of the most unique cities in the country. But of course, aside from the voodoo, the pirates, the nightlife, and live music, this city is known for some of the best food in the US with its Creole and Cajun delicacies, along with many other foods that burst with flavor. So join me as we discover all of this and more, including one of the oldest restaurants in the state and the very popular Bourbon Street, as we continue exploring one of the most colorful, artistic, culturally rich, exciting, and very entertaining cities on the face of this earth. New Orleans is definitely one of those special cities that has so much to offer and never seems to have a dull moment.
Thank you. Yeah, you are.
So beautiful.
Thank you, man.
In the last episode, we entered New Orleans from the north using the roughly 23-mile-long Lake Pontchartrain Causeway, and for a toll fee of only $6, I was able to experience this epic and record-breaking drive on what is supposedly the longest continuous bridge over water. Going over this bridge literally felt like I was driving into the ocean, and about halfway through we started to see downtown New Orleans in the distance, as well as the other side of the lake. After roughly 25 minutes on the bridge, we enter Metairie and New Orleans. As I entered downtown New Orleans, I passed by one of the largest domes in the world, and soon after I entered the French Quarter, which was basically the original part of the city established by the French roughly 300 years ago. The Spanish did control this city at one point, and thus why the architecture here is a mixture of French style, Spanish style, and even Creole style. The architecture in this area also takes into consideration the hot and humid weather, as well as hurricanes, and thus why many shutters. I stayed at the historic Chateau Hotel, which from what I understand used to be an old mansion, and after checking in the hotel, I started exploring the city. As I started walking around in this stunning French Quarter, one of the things that I ran into 2 blocks from the hotel was the historic Jackson Square. And on the northern side, you have the St. Louis Cathedral, which is considered to be one of the oldest running cathedrals in the country. The square itself was named after Andrew Jackson, the 7th president of the US, and it was at this location where the Louisiana Purchase formally took place, through which the US purchased roughly 800,000 square miles from the French for about $15 million, effectively doubling the size of the country. Right across the street from Jackson Square, we have the roughly 200-year-old beautiful historic French market. And this place is one of the biggest attractions in the area. In this market, I patroned the very well-known Café du Monde, where I was able to indulge in the very delicious and messy beignets, along with some live music in front. From here, we made it onto New Orleans Riverwalk on the mighty Mississippi River, which happens to be one of the largest rivers in the world. On this walk, we run into many things, such as numerous historic steamboats, offering a variety of tours that included music, beverages, and even food. We also bumped into what is considered to be one of the best aquariums and insectoriums in the nation, and even a touch of Las Vegas with Caesars New Orleans, that is supposedly related to Caesar's Palace in Las Vegas. Vegas. From the casino, we get on to Canal Street, which is one of the major streets in the city that essentially separates the French Quarter from the core of downtown. One of the main signatures of this street is a very convenient streetcar line that goes right in the middle. And interestingly, New Orleans, a roughly 200-year-old streetcar system, is considered to be one of the oldest in the world. From what I understand, this system contains 5 lines, and I feel it is a great alternative for getting around to the many points in the core of the city, especially over driving your own car, being that parking can sometimes be hard to find and quite pricey. Being that Canal Street essentially separates the core of downtown from the original part of the city, you see a lot of beautiful old architecture contrasting with the newer buildings around it, creating such an aesthetically beautiful environment to walk around in. Another really cool thing is that you have a big variety of businesses lining the street that you can patron. These businesses obviously include shops of many different types, as well as beautiful bars and cafeterias. And along with that, you have many restaurants serving popular regional dishes, such as delicious fried chicken, which is popular in the city and the South as a whole. One particular restaurant really caught my eye because of its name. Aside from fried chicken, you have other interesting restaurants along Canal Street, some with live music. Zesty Creole was one of such restaurants that I was planning to patron because of its high ratings, but seeing the long line and having limited time, I chose another place to eat. This is when I remembered the Voodoo chicken and daiquiri place that caught my eye because of its name and bright colors. The purple, green, and yellow colors inside this place did seem to represent the official colors of Mardi Gras. For those who don't know, Mardi Gras is one of the biggest celebrations in the entire country, consisting of many festivities before Ash Wednesday. This event is one of the main reasons people visit New Orleans. As the name suggests, this place was known for its massive daiquiris as well as fried chicken. So I decided to try both. I ended up getting a 2-piece chicken meal for $15.99. And from the extensive selection of daiquiris, I was suggested the jazz funeral. From what I understand, the concept of a jazz funeral has African roots and contains joyous components celebrating the life of the deceased along with jazz music. It was then time to enjoy my meal and daiquiri. You know what they say, guys, when in Rome, be Roman. And this is the city of daiquiris and a lot of other things. So definitely had to try this and a souvenir to go home. Very well worth it. Very sugary, but it is quite strong. And I generally don't like sugary drinks because they tend to get to your head. Daiquiri and chicken. Now I know I'm in New Orleans. I'm loving it. Even though it's a little pricey, like I said, but actually really good. It's not heavily breaded, and I like that because a lot of places they tend to bread it very heavily. If you look at it, very nice, but a lot of flavor. It's actually a little spicy. Really, really good. Of course, you got these little waffle fries, and you got to have your biscuit and honey. The biscuit tastes a little dry, but I'm wondering if it's because it's more natural. A lot of times when the bread is very soft, it's because they add things to it. It's actually pretty good overall. I would say it's pretty good. Is it worth the $15? Maybe, maybe not. Because obviously we got the location. This delicious meal was barely the tip of the iceberg in the city's culinary scene. And I had the privilege of trying many other foods that were more authentically Creole and Cajun, such as the very popular deep-fried Boudin Balls, which from what I understand are made from pork or chicken liver, rice, celery, bell pepper, and onion. I also patroned one of the oldest restaurants in the city that unfortunately used to be a slave exchange. But I feel like we must never forget history to not repeat the ugly parts. This is also a location where President President Andrew Jackson planned the defense of New Orleans against the British forces. The menu was quite extensive, so I had to limit my order to very representative dishes like the famous Gumbo soup, made with celery, pepper, onion, rice, and a sausage. Along with the soup, I also ordered the very popular Jambalaya, which is one of the most famous rice dishes in the region. This plate was also made from the trinity of celery, pepper, and onion, as well as blackened chicken and shrimp. Needless to say, and to be expected, all the food here exploded with flavor. One of the most popular local delicacies is the famous shrimp po' boy sandwich. That, from what I understand, is a delicious sandwich that was designed to be affordable and filling for the working class. The food is so flavorful in this city that even a late night chili dog and pumpkin pie tasted exquisite. Beyond the local delicacies and late night food, even the snacks in the city tasted amazing. And this place serving ice cream was a prime example of this. The cute and cozy ambiance of this cafeteria restaurant definitely added to the experience. I was told that the ice cream was locally made, and I have to say it did taste very creamy. For $10. Well, $7 with tip. Aside from places serving delicious foods and snacks, this city has a plethora of beautiful and interesting coffee shops. I had the pleasure of visiting a few of these places, such as this one that contained an Irish cultural museum, which opened my mind to the fact that the Irish were also another group from Europe that had a tremendous impact on the history of New Orleans. To get to the actual coffee shop, we had to go through a stunning courtyard, which is something very typical of these beautiful colonial historic buildings. To be expected, I found a lot of art and historical displays inside the coffee shop, especially as it relates to the Irish people and their history in the US. After grabbing my coffee, I went across the courtyard to a little museum lounge, where I was treated to many more educational historical displays that actually taught me quite a bit. From what I understand, the earliest wave of Irish immigration to the city took place in the 1700s, but an even larger wave reached New Orleans because of the potato famine of the 1800s, resulting in the Irish becoming a substantial portion of the city's population at the time. The icing on the cake is that for only $3, I was able to enjoy a coffee in one of the most unique coffee shops I have ever been to. Another even more interesting coffee shop, in my opinion at least, can be found in Exchange Alley, which from what I understand used to be one of the most important commercial streets in the city during the earlier days. This is also supposedly a street where many jazz musicians used to hang out, and now has been restored into a beautiful hidden gem that is definitely worth checking out when visiting New Orleans. What makes this coffee shop very intriguing, in my opinion at least, is that it is named after one of the most famous pirates to have ever existed on this side of the world, and that is John Lafitte, who was known for smuggling stolen goods into New Orleans. This famous historical figure was also known for helping President Andrew Jackson defend the city against British forces during the Battle of New Orleans. Interestingly, legend has it that this meeting between Lafitte and Andrew Jackson actually took place in the Pierre Maspero's restaurant that I had patroned. This coffee shop went into so much detail that it even had a display that supposedly represented the captain's quarter in the pirate ship. Aside from all the interesting and informative displays, this coffee shop also had a sizable section dedicated to souvenirs. Now that we have experienced a little bit of the amazing culinary scene in New Orleans and two of the many cool coffee shops you can find here, it is now time to talk about what many of you have been waiting for, and that is the nightlife. Hope you enjoyed. The famed nightlife in New Orleans definitely lives up to its name, with a variety of places you can patron and the sheer amount of energy you often find on the street. The epicenter tends to be on the very popular Bourbon Street in the French Quarter, and you are likely to find barriers on intersections for safety purposes. This street can also be quite lively during the daytime. The strip on Bourbon Street stretches for many blocks and tends to become more dense as you approach Canal Street. From what I understand, this street was named after the ruling house of Bourbon in France in the 1700s and was supposedly originally a high-end residential street before transforming into the robust hub of activities and nightlife that it is today.
Yes, it was love that made me weep.
Alright, we come upon a sign that says hand grenade, and these are one of the most famous drinks here. I'm scared to take it, to be honest with you, because it is very sugary. These type of drinks are very strong. One of the advantages of strolling Bourbon Street during the daytime is appreciating the beautiful and colorful architecture in what is arguably one of the most famous streets in the entire nation. And of course, being the touristic environment that this is, you are likely to run into comical elements as well as interesting performances.
Everybody make some noise. It is now showtime. Oh, hell no. What the hell was that? Ladies and gentlemen, you're not at a funeral. You heard? Just the fellas, what time is it? Just the ladies, what time is it? City girls to the left, oh my God, we're independent.
Bourbon Street also has many restaurants that you may want to check out when visiting New Orleans. And a good chunk of these restaurants offer seafood as well as many of the typical local delicacies. Another cool thing about Bourbon Street is that aside from restaurants, you also find many bars open during the daytime. Some of these bars have balconies that provide phenomenal views. New Orleans is known for an abundance of live music, and this bar was one of many places that had a band playing downstairs.
Everybody scream! What's up, Sammy?
Another really cool place that I checked out during the daytime on Bourbon Street was Musical Legends Park. This beautiful live music venue had a relaxed patio-style ambiance and contained bronze statues celebrating local musical icons. One of such famous musical figures was Alan Toussaint, who was a New Orleans native known to be a very influential figure in the local rhythm and blues scene. This venue was also another place aside from Café du Monde that sold New Orleans famous beignets as well as other pastries. What an amazing place to indulge in these very delicious and messy beignets while listening to live music. Aside from bars and restaurants, you also have beautiful hotels on Bourbon Street, such as the stunning Sheraton Sonesta that is practically in the middle of it all, and was supposedly originally a brewery from the 1800s. The thing that I absolutely love about this particular hotel is how it blends in so well with the historic architecture of the French Quarter. Keep in mind, because of its location, it can get quite crowded in front, and you might bump into more street performers as you exit the hotel. To be expected with all that goes on Bourbon Street, there is a chance you could run into some drama. So needless to say, with the amount of people that come through here on a daily basis, a lot of security is needed to keep the place safe. New Orleans, to me, truly embodies the concept of a party city. The sheer amount of noise generated by the bars you pass by and the overall energy on the street can be overwhelming. You might even get lucky and witness a full-on musical band on the street putting on a stellar performance. One thing you're likely to notice on Bourbon Street at nighttime is that many bars and restaurants advertise their establishments with rotating projections onto the pavement, adding more flair to the ambiance. Going into details about the bars on Bourbon Street, there are so many of them, and that is probably why the bars here are so creative with their names. Some bars celebrate defining historical and cultural aspects of the city, such as Voodoo, and even the famed Jazz Funeral. To be expected, there were bars named after the official day of Mardi Gras, and that is Fat Tuesday, which is also the day before Ash Wednesday. Enjoy raw footage of some of the really cool bars I passed by. It looks like you have like a Latin night here in the bar with the courtyard. One of the things I really love about New Orleans, it really reminds me of the colonial places in Mexico, which are also very beautiful.
She's at a side, oh, way at a side. Oh, she's a hot pepper. Oh, she's a hot pepper. I'm gonna make this bar my home.
Places selling cigars. With what seems to be an overabundance of places to patron on Bourbon Street, it is not that uncommon to find some of them rather empty on a certain days. And strolling along the street, you might run into venues of a more erotic nature, which is quite fitting for a city that feels like an adult playground. Aside from all the entertaining venues, you are likely to bump into interesting individuals like this one who seem to have a tremendous love for animals. I love both. I love both cats and dogs. I do, but they don't always get along.
Check him out, check him out.
No, I love. Animals are so beautiful.
Yes,
When you
yeah, that's boss right there.
This is boss right here, okay. You're blessed, my friend.
Right. You don't see nobody rocking like this.
No, you don't.
Not rocking like this.
This is beautiful, guys. Look at this.
Yeah.
You know what I love about your animals is that they're so peaceful.
Right, right.
That means they've been loved.
Yes, right. Zulu. My name's Kenneth, but you call me Zulu.
Zulu,
See,
like Shaka Zulu.
Yes, sir.
You're gonna be on wild travel adventure, my friend.
Wow. that might be it. Might be the shit right there.
Nice to meet you, my friend.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you. As Bourbon Street finally winds down, you may still hear some street musicians going at it. And hearing so much music in this city motivated me to practice my own beats. Aside from Bourbon Street, there are many other notable streets in the historical core of New Orleans, such as Frenchmen Street, which is known to have a very high concentration of jazz venues. Yeah, this is definitely a side of New Orleans that a lot of people don't know about. This is not Bourbon Street, this is Frenchmen. From what I was told before, this is where a lot of locals hang out. There you go, this is the beginning of your jazz. From what I understand, the entertainment district along Frenchmen Street started developing in the 1980s as an alternative to the more touristic Bourbon Street for locals who want to listen to live music, and to me felt just as lively as Bourbon Street. This area is home to some of the most popular places in the city, including the very famous Spotted Cat Music Club. Next to this club, you have the beautiful Frenchmen Art Bazaar. And if you're lucky enough to find this place open, you will likely get another taste of the rich artistic culture of the city. Being that this area was known for jazz venues, I started looking around for a place to enjoy some good quality live music. And I witnessed quite a bit of creative marketing. You gotta love the names for the shots and the prices. There were numerous venues to choose from, but I have to say I was happy with my choice. As you can see, the music scene in New Orleans does not disappoint. And aside from Frenchmen Street, Bourbon Street, and Canal Street, another street that I feel is a must-see is Royal Street. Located one block from Bourbon Street, Royal Street is full of many beautiful art galleries and antique shops. Keep in mind that a lot of these galleries close fairly early, so this street is better appreciated during the day, especially for those who are lovers of the arts. To be expected, aside from art galleries and antique shops, you're also likely to find more beautiful bars and restaurants on Royal Street, some even playing live music. Beyond Bourbon and Royal, there are many other streets in the French Quarter that you can walk around to discover in the night or day. And as you do so, you will likely run into many other stunning historical landmarks, as well as more examples of very creative art and a variety of many more interesting businesses, including a surprising number of massage places. One thing that I feel is a must-see before leaving New Orleans is the Voodoo Museum, being that voodoo is such a big part of the culture and history of this city. This museum consisted of a few rooms containing multiple displays of objects and art relating to the history of voodoo in New Orleans. From what I understand, voodoo in New Orleans, or Louisiana voodoo as some people call it, originated from the enslaved people that were brought here from West Africa. So needless to say, a lot of the art in this museum was of African influence. These people from West Africa then supposedly merged their beliefs with Catholicism and even some Native American beliefs to create the voodoo culture that we have here today. From what I read, rituals in the New Orleans hoodoo voodoo culture were often performed by mambos or queens who were considered to be very influential people in the community. And these rituals had many purposes, including communicating with the spirits and even deceased family members. One of the most famous queens was Marie Laveau, who used herbal medicine to nurse the sick. The voodoo Catholicism in New Orleans was further influenced by Haitian refugees that reached the city during the late 1700s. And it was supposedly from them that the concept of using toxins from the blowfish was introduced to actually induce a death-like paralysis. There is a surprising number of things packed into this relatively small museum with descriptions that will likely give you a lot of insight into what voodoo really is, especially the type in New Orleans and Louisiana as a whole. But I will not go into more detail to give you more reason to visit this very enlightening museum for yourself. This series on New Orleans has barely scratched the surface on all the things that there is to see and do in this vibrant place. But I am now convinced that you have more than enough reasons to visit this very entertaining, intriguing, mysterious, colorful, awe-inspiring, culturally diverse, historical city that has to be one of the most unique places on earth. So much so that you just might even invite someone special to tag along.